Disclaimer, I am not an owl, nor have I ever been any type of a doctor. This is just my weekly series where I explain mental illnesses through illustration. This week we're talking about selective mutism. Selective mutism is a severe situational anxiety disorder which affects both children and adults. The condition generally starts in early childhood but can, if not treated, go through early adulthood. People with selective mutism don't actually have anything wrong with their tongue or vocal cords, and they don't have aphasia, which is when the brain damage affects speech. Yet most of the time, they feel completely unable to speak. Affected individuals understand language use, and although they have the physical and cognitive ability to speak, they demonstrate a persistent inability to speak in particular settings over a particular period of time due to anxiety. Selective mutism usually starts between the ages of 3 and 6. Most children who develop selective mutism also suffer from social anxiety or social phobia. Temperamentally, they are timid and cautious in new situations, even as young as infants. They may experience separation anxiety. Many show physical signs such as awkward body language, stiffness, and a lack of facial expressions. Those who are comfortable in a situation may be mute but have a more relaxed physical characteristic. A child with selective mutism may speak in some select situations but not in others, or with some people but not with other people. For instance, a child may speak normally at home or with close friends, but not at school or other social situations, such as with grandparents or maybe an aunt they're not too familiar with. Selective mutism causes significant impairment in children's lives and can interfere with performance at school and with friends and family. It can often prevent them from having fun and engaging in regular childhood experiences. It also can keep them from being safe if they are unable to ask for help or get their basic needs met. Children and adults with selective mutism do not choose to be silent in the situations in which they cannot speak. They genuinely cannot speak because attempting speech rouses too much anxiety. Almost all children and adults with selective mutism would love to be able to speak in every situation they cannot. They are not making up their difficulties or being difficult, rude, or antisocial. There is no single known cause of selective mutism, but there are factors that make it more likely to develop. The neurological basis for selective mutism is thought to be a cascade of events in an area of the brain known as the amygdala, which receives danger signals from the environment. The anxiety from a situation perceived as dangerous to the child's well-being causes a communication shutdown. Children with selective mutism often have a family history of anxiety disorders, and they themselves might have a variety of coexisting disorders, such as obsessive compulsive disorder, social phobia, Asperger's syndrome, or developmental delays. Because selective mutism is an anxiety disorder, if left untreated, it can have negative consequences throughout the child's life and unfortunately pave the way for an array of academic, social, and emotional repercussions, such as worsening anxiety, depression, and manifestations of other anxiety disorders, social isolation and withdrawal, poor self-esteem and self-confidence, school refusal, poor academic performance, and the possibility of quitting school, underachievement academically and in the workplace, self-medication with drugs and or alcohol, suicidal thoughts, and possible suicide. The main goal of treatment is to lower anxiety, increase self-esteem, and increase social confidence and communication. Majority of people are treated using a combination of social communication anxiety therapy, behavioral therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, medication, self-esteem boosters, and frequent socialization. I would also like to just speak on the differences between selective mutism and traumatic mutism, just so there's no confusion. Children who suffer from selective mutism speak in at least one setting and are rarely mute in all settings. For children with selective mutism, their mutism is a means of avoiding the anxious feelings elicited by the expectations of being in social encounters. While children with traumatic mutism usually develop mutism in all situations very suddenly. A good example of this would be a child who witnesses the death of somebody or who witnesses another traumatic event and is unable to process these events, and so they become mute in all settings.